My name's Katie. I am one of the students who's just finished one of the pathway courses, which Cathy will tell you a little bit more about in a few minutes' time. So basically, I did a course called Population Health and Medical Sciences, and that's one of our many pathway courses that we have at Swansea. And I have just graduated this year from that course, and I've now started graduate entry medicine with Swansea as well. So I am sort of 3 years ahead. Well, no, sorry, 4 years ahead of sort of where any of you are that are thinking of applying this year for medicine or for an undergraduate course that could allow you to do graduate entry medicine. So a bit about me. So I was 25 when I started my undergraduate course. So I'd not come in the traditional way and done my A-levels knowing I wanted to do medicine. That was not at all my journey. And it was actually going through my own health issues in my late teens and early 20s, whilst I was in sixth form, that sort of turned everything on its head for me. And I decided that instead of going into something like environmental sciences, I wanted to go into medicine. So I worked for a period of time before I started university, which is why I didn't come until a bit later. But I knew that I would need to do graduate entry medicine because I didn't have the A-levels I needed to apply for an undergraduate course. So that's basically what led me to Swansea. So in terms of my experience, I really loved living in Swansea whilst I've been here. Although I'm not going to lie, the weather today is rather rainy, as I know it is in many places across the UK today. Being near to the coast is certainly something which I really love. I'm a very outdoors person, so that's something which I've really enjoyed. And the campus that we have here is very close to the beach. And I really found, if I'm going to be honest, the first term quite difficult just because I'd been out of education for so long. But once I got into that swing of learning, I really started to enjoy my learning experience at Swansea. I think I was supported incredibly well by the faculty within the medical school, particularly my personal academic mentor. And that's somebody that you would have if you came to Swansea. You'd each be allocated a tutor and they'd be able to help you with your journey through your studies. And I was set up with somebody who was my program director also. So I was able to go to her and receive a huge amount of pastoral support as well as that academic support. And I think that really helped me to succeed at Swansea. What else that I got involved into university, I'll just quickly talk a little bit about my other experiences. So I joined several societies, including the Dance Society, which I really helped me to sort of introduce me to people outside of my course, to people that had, similar interests as me, and also just a really big variety of people that I don't think I would have met otherwise. I also did volunteering at the university through something called Discovery Volunteering Network. And that again gave me that opportunity to meet new people, to increase my confidence a bit, because I was working with the public, and also to get some experience of working in hospital, because I took part in a project where I was reading and offering companionship with people who were spending time in hospital. So what I guess I would say is that I've had a really rounded experience at Swansea, and I would say that not only helped me in my application to medicine, but it also helped to show me the various other options that I could have done on, instead of medicine. And I did seriously consider all of those, because I think if any of you sat here thinking that medicine might be for you, it's really worth exploring all of your other avenues, because it's not something you should enter into lightly. And I think the more you dig into medical sciences, the more you realize there's some really amazing careers out there that are similar or allied to medicine, but very different in other ways. Research, going into something like public health, going into policy making. There's lots that you can use your degree at Swansea to provide you a springboard onto. And I really would say that Swansea really helped me to explore those avenues before I decided on medicine. So I think that's plenty about me. So Cathy, if you'd like to go into the presentation now.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Thanks, Ben. My name's Professor Cathy Thornton, and I'm our Professor of Human Immunology at Swansea University. So I'm going to stop sharing because I'm not sure I put the sound on then. Start again. Oh, no, it is. Yeah. Okay. And since May, I've also been head of Swansea University Medical School. And so I'm just going to give you a little introduction to Swansea University, the medical school, and then go into the details of the pathways. And then we'll be able to come back to Katie and ask her some questions, and myself some questions that may arise from what Katie has just told you, and from what I'm about to share with you. I always have trouble with the first one. There we go. So lots of you may not be familiar with Swansea University, and you haven't heard about it like some of the big universities across the UK, and maybe particularly not the medical school sitting within the university. So you may be wondering if Swansea University Medical School is any good and would I want to study there? And you can see these accolades along the top here. These are from a number of different assessment exercises and league tables that evaluate medical schools across the UK and rank them relative to each other based on lots of different criteria. And you can see up here in the top left that you can see in the recent Complete University Guide that Swansea University was ranked first in the UK for medicine. So that's the medical school. And one of the key pillars of the activity in the medical school is the research that we do, and Katie has touched on that already. And the research that we do underpins many of the activities across the medical school, including our teaching as well. And you can see that the university, the medical school in particular, was ranked first in the UK for research environment and first in the UK for research quality in this UK-wide exercise called the Research Excellence Framework, which evaluates, again, all of the universities across the UK and ranks them against each other. So a great medical school and a great research environment underpinning the activity in that medical school. So that's the medical school. What about the university as a whole? And again, you can see some accolades down the bottom here, again, from the Guardian University Guide, the most recent one. You can see that Swansea University is the top ranked university within Wales. And in the Complete University Guide, most recently, you can see that Swansea is ranked UK top 26 for career prospects. And this is an area that Swansea University and the medical school consistently ranks quite highly in terms of our employability and job prospects for our graduates. And that may be particularly important when you're discussing with your parents and other family members what your aspirations are beyond university. And we talked about these research excellence framework. We also have a teaching excellence framework, which takes a similar approach to evaluating the teaching capability and capacity of universities across the UK. And in the most recent of these exercises in 2018, Swansea University was given a TEF Gold, which is the top ranked award that you can achieve. And this really reflects the teaching quality and the commitment of the university to student satisfaction, continuation rates. Katie's already touched on the academic mentor structure and the pastoral and academic support for students in helping drive that satisfaction and the continuation rates. We've already touched on the really high employment rates we have here at Swansea University, and there's plenty of academic support opportunities. And if you've got specific questions about that, we can pick up on those at the end of today's presentation. So some people may not really be aware of where Swansea University is, or even where Swansea is. And you can see in the map on the right, here's our map of the United Kingdom. We've got Northern Ireland, and here's Wales in the green here. And here's Swansea sitting nicely on the southwest coast of Wales. And Katie's already alluded to the proximity to the beach. So Swansea sits nicely there in southwest Wales. It's the second largest city in Wales, population's over 250,000. So it's got a nice element of city feel, but it's not too big in terms of a city. We have 2 seafront campuses. The bulk of the teaching of graduate entry medicine in our Pathways program is conducted on the Singleton campus, which I'm sitting in right now, and it is essentially across the road from the beach. And we have another campus, our Bay campus, which doesn't even have a road between it and the beach. It was Freshers Week last week, Induction Week last week, and I was driving along the seafront, and there was a constant stream of students moving from Singleton campus across the overpass, the pedestrian overpass, down onto the beach, clearly relishing the proximity of the beach and the beautiful weather we were having last week. And not only is it in a beautiful part there on the South Wales coast, it's also on the very edge of the Gower Peninsula, which was the UK's first area of outstanding natural beauty. And, you know, it's probably a bit boring for Katie. She'll have heard me say this before, but you may have spotted that I have an Australian twang. So as an Australian, I'm sort of very experienced in beautiful beaches and beautiful scenery. And I have found that since moving to Swansea, you know, some 18 years ago, and in fact, it was my 18th anniversary of living in Swansea this week, that the local scenery, the local beaches are truly stunning, and they are really something you should get out and enjoy whilst you're here. And so whilst we're thinking about all the wonders that can be found in Swansea, we mustn't forget that Swansea is relatively close to lots of other destinations that may be of interest. We've got Cardiff down the road. It only takes an hour by car and about an hour by train, and it has that much bigger city feel than does Swansea, admittedly. But equally, I say this to people all the time, that London is just as simple. It's not even 3 hours anymore. It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. And it is a direct train into London, which is quite nice as well. And you can see that it's a 4-hour drive to Manchester. And you can see on the map here that Bristol Airport is not too far away as well. So lots of things to explore in Swansea and Wales, but also lots of good connections to other parts of the UK as well. And I think there's a little pointer up here that our dual campuses that are on the beach are the closest, make us the closest university to the beach in the entire world. So that's always a nice selling point. And here's a little picture of some of those beaches and highlighting how lucky we are to have those beachside campuses. And I think year on year, I've noticed that, you know, students and staff alike are engaging more in that opportunity and taking the chance to stroll across to the beach on a nice day and do more and more activity on the beaches. Part of that may be driven by current situation and the desire to be gathering outside, but the beach environment really lends itself to that. And we've got a couple of different beaches here from different, you know, surrounding parts of Swansea. The one on the left, you can walk to from the campus, and the one on the right is just around the corner from a very popular surfing destination. And the other important thing to note is that Swansea is also the UK's third most affordable student town. So if you're thinking about the prospects of coming here and living in Swansea and studying firstly a pathways degree and then potentially further on to graduate entry medicine, then that may be an important consideration in your decision-making processes. And so now thinking more specifically about what you may be exposed to within the medical school if you come and study with us, well, we do have lots of fabulous facilities. And I think people are really pleasantly surprised when they come and visit Swansea and see that the types of facilities we have are exactly the same as those that are available in much more recognised and renowned medical schools. And so we have teaching units embedded within each of our local hospitals. The hospital, which is, you know, I can see out of my office window on the Singleton campus, is the Singleton Hospital, and there's a teaching unit within there. And we have the big tertiary referral centre, which is a few miles away, and there's an education centre embedded within that. So you can get exposure to that clinical environment through that pathways degree, through the particular module that we will talk about. But also there's lots of opportunities if you then progress with us to graduate entry medicine or some of the allied health professions available as well. And this just reflects that really close working partnership we have with Swansea Bay University Health Board, but also some of the other health boards further west into Wales in particular. And we just got some pictures down the bottom of some of those facilities. And you can see we have an imaging facility within the medical school. Here's obviously clinical skills training going on within our graduate entry medicine program. Here on this top right figure here, we can see what's going on in our anatomy facility. And then we've got lots of examples of the laboratory environment we find down here. This is from in fact, I think this is a nanoprobe which sits within our Centre for Nanohealth. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it does analyse, obviously, at the nanoscale, and we have lots of activity around nanomedicine and nanohealth. And here's our research laboratories within what we call the Institute of Life Science. And if you do the Pathways to Medicine undergraduate degrees or any of our other undergraduate degrees within the medical school, you'll be exposed to that research environment as part of your training and education throughout your degree. And that will lead you naturally into postgraduate opportunities of a great variety. So there's a whole host of things you can study with us here in Swansea. So you'll be here because you're interested in perhaps becoming a doctor one day. So we have a medicine program, and you need to remember that our medicine program is a graduate entry program. You cannot apply for our medicine program directly out of A levels. You require a previous undergraduate degree, and you require a 2-1 in that undergraduate degree. Although there are some nuances on that we will touch on in a later slide. And then we have a suite of undergraduate degrees as well. We have applied medical sciences, we have biochemistry and medical biochemistry, we have biochemistry and genetics, genetics and medical genetics, we have medical pharmacology, we have the population health and medical sciences degree that Katie studied, and new for this year, we have a pharmacy degree as well. And all of these degrees have a foundation element, and some of them have an MSci opportunity as well. And our medical school sits within the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Life Sciences. So we're very closely allied with the other healthcare profession teaching elements of Swansea University. And so other parts of the faculty also teach things like healthcare science, nursing, health and social care, osteopathy, paramedic science, and other allied health professions, all within Swansea University. And so within some of these programs, we have the opportunity to progress to becoming a doctor. And then you would pursue this graduate entry pathway at Swansea University. And then you would end up with your MBBCH at that. And our graduate entry medicine program is unique in Wales and is an accelerated 4-year medical degree. And one of the sort of many bonuses of taking that route is that you get a very early clinical exposure. I think Katie can elaborate on it, but you're very quickly into clinical settings and scenarios within the first year of starting GEM. We take a case-based learning approach to the delivery of the program, and we've already touched on the fact that it's a spiralized, integrated curriculum, building session by session, year on year, onto the knowledge that you're acquiring. And so thinking about the entry requirements you need for that, as I said, you need a 2-1 undergraduate degree. And as Katie's already hinted at, that can be in anything. You know, I'm talking to a current 4th-year medical student about coming into my lab to do her research project, and she has a physics degree. We have people who come from theology, history, physiotherapy, so sciences and non-sciences alike. If you've gone and done a postgraduate degree, then you could have a 2-2 undergraduate degree and that postgraduate degree, as long as you performed well at that postgraduate degree. And that can be an M-level degree, a master's, or it could be a PhD or similar as well. You have to sit the GAMSAT or MCAT and achieve a certain mark on that, and that mark is set differently year on year. And if you meet those criteria, you'll then be invited to an interview, and then you would go through the interview process. And if you perform well at that, then you will make the cut and be offered a place to study on our graduate entry medicine program. And so there are lots of benefits to studying medicine at the postgraduate level. You're a little bit older and you're a little bit wiser, essentially. You've gained some life experience. You've had lots more interactions with different environments, different settings, different people. You've got lots of university experience from your first degree. You've identified your own best way of how to learn, and you know what you need to do to maximize your learning opportunities. That additional qualification from your first degree gives you a whole host of other career options as well. You may take a pathways route, or you may take a pathways route through that first degree, and it gives you lots of other options besides the study of medicine in the future. Katie's already touched on this particular point of the rich study experience, the diversity of backgrounds of your fellows within the cohort that you're studying within the medicine program. They come from a huge range of academic backgrounds and experiences, and they can share insights and challenges and opportunities with you. And that kind of life experience, better approach to learning, more embedded approach to learning, and that richer study environment helps to make the doctors that graduate from our graduate entry medicine program what are deemed to be the best prepared doctors on completion. And this is from recent surveys by the 7 deanery within Wales. And that's just a little picture that goes with that story, that studying medicine as a postgraduate could make you a better doctor. And it's that sum of all those life experiences and that hitting the ground running with that really healthy approach to your learning. And so we have a number of undergraduate opportunities for you to study. And in some of these programs, we have embedded this Pathways to Medicine opportunity. And these are the programs listed up here. You can study applied medical sciences, medical biochemistry, medical genetics, medical pharmacology, population health, and medical sciences. All have this Pathways to Medicine element within them. And the clue really in these is in the title of all of these degree programs, you will see the word medical, which aligns them to our Pathways program and aligns them to the possibility of stepping into an interview for GEM when you complete that degree. And all of these programs, we have foundation years, and it is possible to do a foundation year, progress to the BSc full 3-year course, and then still be eligible for that interview place with GEM. And we have our first example. Our foundation years are now only 4 years old. So we've had our first cohort of students graduate, having started with us in the foundation. And we have now examples of people who have started their foundation year with us, progressed onto the 3-year programs, and are now studying GEM with us here in Swansea. So if you're thinking about your UCAS application and you're an A-level student and you're putting in lots of things related to undergraduate medicine, maybe you want to think about putting one of these degree programs as your 5th choice on UCAS to give you that little bit of flexibility should perhaps the A-level results not go as well as you hope they are going to be. And so we call this our Pathway to Medicine program because it has some opportunities on there for you to benefit when it comes to applying for our graduate entry medicine program. So you have a bespoke module in the 2nd year of the studies. It's called Doctors, Patients, and the Goals of Medicine. There are opportunities to gain healthcare related placements through that pathway. And then there's specialist support in preparing your applications, preparing to apply, preparing for the GAMSAT, preparing your personal statement, preparing your applications for graduate entry medicine, and not necessarily graduate entry medicine in Swansea. Other graduate entry medicine programs are available to you, and the support we give you is going to enable you to apply for graduate entry medicine program elsewhere. And so then we have a sort of a set line of criteria. So as long as you perform satisfactorily down all of those elements of that pathway and you meet the minimum entry criteria at the time of application, then you will have a guaranteed interview for our programs. It's not a guaranteed place on the program, it's a guaranteed interview. So once you get to the interview, it's then really down to your performance in the interview as to whether you're going to get a seat on our graduate entry medicine program. Oops, I think I've lost a slide there. And so it has a lot of flexibility within this program. We've already alluded to the fact that you can be taking the Pathways to Medicine, aspiring to study graduate entry medicine and be a doctor, but because you're going to be embedded into the study of medical sciences, you may find that something else entirely sparks your interest, and you may then pursue another element in an allied health or medical research or something very similar. And we've got lots of examples of those emerging from our students who are the alumni from our pathways. And so the whole purpose of these pathways is to offer students an environment, a nice flexible environment into which to gain an insight into medicine and related medical sciences fields so that you can make a really informed decision about your next step. You're going to get quite a bit of exposure into what it's actually like to be a doctor, what it's actually like to work with patients, what it's actually like to work within the NHS. And you may find that you like some elements of that, but not all of them, and that you may be able to achieve interaction with those elements you like the best through a different route, for example. And no matter what, it's going to give you a solid foundation in the medical sciences field. We have anatomy and physiology and pharmacology and biochemistry and all of these fundamentals of medical science embedded in these programs. And you'll be learning within these and be really well skilled when it comes to learning medicine in the future. So it really does give you a springboard into graduate entry medicine, but it gives you a whole host of transferable skills, not just for medicine, but for any other career choice you may make after that. So as I've said, we've got a number of these pathways to medicine programs. And so you may be wondering which is the best one for me. So I'm going to go through each of them and tell you a little bit about them so you can start to understand what the differences between them are. And you may be identifying the one that chimes best with your personal interests. So if we start with our applied medical science program, in here you're really going to understand and acquire really in-depth insight into how the human body works, how it works in health, how it works in disease, how we pursue treatments, how we develop treatments. And you can see on the right-hand side the kind of topics that you would cover. You're going to get to anatomy and physiology. You're going to learn how cells work, how DNA works, how your brain works. And you can see how important those are as an underpinning to any future study of medicine, but how they could springboard you to other career opportunities as well. Then we have our medical pharmacology program, and this is the science of drugs and medicines and how they affect cells and the body and their role in treating diseases. And you can see the modules down the side there, and there you're going to get exposed to things like toxicology, immunology, reproductive biology, and neuroscience. And again, really good fundamentals of medical science and the underpinnings that are going to help you progress nicely into graduate entry medicine in the future. Then we have the degree program that Katie studied. If you've got any specific questions about that, you'll have a chance to ask her the questions at the end of this session. And so this is centered on the use of health data and health informatics to better understand population health. And sort of health data and health informatics are deemed to be the next big thing in healthcare. And the goal here is to look at the wide range of factors that can determine people's health and health outcomes, right from the individual level all the way through to the population level. And here you'll be exposed to things like demography, public health, social sciences, epidemiology, and helping you develop a holistic understanding of lots of determinants of health in our population, be they medical, social, economic, etc. And that, again, you can see is going to give you a springboard into graduate entry medicine and lots of other career opportunities. And then our other two programs are our medical biochemistry and our medical genetics, which have this pathways opportunity embedded within them. So within medical biochemistry, you're really going to delve into how cells work and how our cells work together to build tissues and organs and the human body. And this is fundamental to sort of, developing ideas and products that are going to help us with many of the sort of health challenges we have in the world today. This will be the kind of degree that many of the people studying vaccines, for example, in the COVID-19 pandemic may have taken. And here you're going to learn biochemistry, of course. You're going to look at human immunopathology. You're going to look at how cells work in lots of details. And again, the underpinnings of medicine and lots of other allied health professions. And then we've got genetics, and here you're going to really understand what is going on at the genetic level in cells and how this impacts on cell function, tissue function, organ function, and the wider functioning of the human body as well. And we have people doing this course who are interested in being genetic counselors, for example, but it also provides a really fabulous underpinning for understanding health and disease, and therefore practicing as a doctor in the future. And you can see some examples there of the kind of modules you may do. You may be studying infectious diseases. You may be looking at genetic toxicology. So how do the drugs we use in a pharmaceutical setting impact on our DNA and the function of our cells? You would look at cancer in that setting as well. And you would also look at animal and human development within that program as well. So you may be identifying some things there that really chime with your interests and relate to what you've been doing in your A-levels, or perhaps in any working setting you've been doing since your A-levels. So whilst we're here really thinking about pathways to medicine and the opportunities those particular programs offer us in relation to the future study of graduate entry medicine and our aspirations to be a doctor, they do provide the underpinnings to a whole host of different careers. So you're keeping your options open. As we've discussed, some people will change their mind through the course of this degree. We have people coming in thinking, I'm not too bothered about studying medicine. It doesn't really interest me. And then the more they find out about it, it actually really piques their interest, and they actually end up applying and starting the study of medicine a few years later. And equally, we have people coming in desperately determined that they are going to be a doctor, and suddenly they discover something else that really floats their boat, and they start pursuing that as a different career, because they would never have known about it if they hadn't pursued the pathways to medicine opportunity. And you can see a whole host of different programs down here. And these range from becoming an academic like me and going on and doing teaching and research, through to becoming a clinical scientist and working in a laboratory setting within a hospital, for example. You can become a science writer, work on pharmaceutical regulation. You can become a medical writer. You can become a patient advocate. There's all kinds of degrees you can come through there's all kinds of careers that these degrees can lead on to. We have things like you can take an extra postgraduate study and become a patent lawyer. You can move into pharmaceuticals and forensics and the food and beverage industry. But of course, you can also become a doctor. We have physician's associate program as well, which is a postgraduate study. I've recently, some of my academic mentees that have just graduated have gone on to study postgraduate physiotherapy, having done applied medical sciences with us as the foundation and springboard to that. So lots of different opportunities because of the fundamentals of medical science that you get across those degree programs. And so I've got this little video that's going to talk you through thinking about putting those pathways as your 5th choice on your UCAS application. It looks like it's going to play today. I did one of these last weekend and it was a bit of a disaster, but I think we're going to be okay.
A pathway to medicine is a structure that exists within some of our BSc programs. It's for students who want a guaranteed interview for our graduate entry medicine program, but are keeping their options open, possibly as a 5th choice in their UCAS form when they're applying for undergraduate medicine, or they know that they want to do a first degree before they apply to graduate entry medicine. Mostly medical sciences type degrees for students who want to explore their passion for medicine. There are a range of other career options which our graduates go on to, but there is that pathway there for those students who want.
The Pathways to Medicine courses are an excellent foundation for going into graduate entry medicine because firstly it gives you a chance to enjoy Swansea and to get a little taste of what it's like to be in university. It's also a great backup choice if, like me, you don't get into medicine the first time. It gives you another chance to apply through your 5th choice and to get around to medicine in the long run. It also prepares you for what it's going to be like to be a doctor and to work with patients every day, and that's invaluable.
Okay, so just to remind you, you've seen a little bit about the pathway to medicine, and just to recap about how it works. So we have these pathways to medicine undergraduate programs in which we have this opportunity to progress through that program. And if you perform satisfactorily, you will have a guaranteed interview on our program. We have the bespoke module, doctors, patients, and the goals of medicine, those healthcare-related placements, and then the opportunity to get lots of advice on preparing your application, preparing you for interview. And I think Katie has really touched on one of the important aspects of the Pathways to Medicine and our GEM program is that we have lots of students already on our GEM program who have passed through Pathways to Medicine, are now doing GEM, and are incredibly keen and dedicated to helping students on the pathways prepare for interviews, applications for graduate entry medicine. Again, in Swansea, but also in other programs as well. So we have a really nice mentoring community of those that have passed through the pathways and have progressed successfully onto the study of graduate entry medicine. So this is now the details of performing satisfactorily on the pathways. So what you need to do is you need to gain a 60% average overall for your degree. So you must get a 2-1 or better. And in terms of that module in the second year, that bespoke module, doctors, patients, and the goals of medicine, you also need to achieve 60% on that module. You need to sit the GAMSAT, or if you're an international student, it would be the MCAT. And most students would do that at the end of year 2 or the beginning of year 3 because of the cycle of UCAS and interviews for our program. But you'll be getting advice about that from the doctors, patients, and the goals of medicine, and that mentoring community we have within our GEM students. So you need to achieve a certain level on the GAMSAT, achieve the 6% average overall, 60% in the Pathways module, and this will make you eligible for a guaranteed interview for the graduate entry medicine program. And again, there'll still be that minimum GAMSAT score set within that as well. So the reminder, there's a guaranteed interview seat and not an interview program seat. And so that means basically you're graduating with a BSc degree 2-1 or above, which is the same requirement we have for any student who hasn't come through our pathway program as well, that requirement for that 2-1 BSc degree. And then if you're successful at interview, and we can pick up on some of the characteristics of the interview for those who may be interested, then you will go on, be offered a place, and you will go on to study graduate entry medicine with us in Swansea. And so thinking about what that typical offer may be for the undergraduate degrees, for our undergraduate BScs and MScis, we typically have students coming in at an AAB or a BBB at A level or equivalent. And the most relevant subjects you can see here, are the biologies, the chemistries, and another STEM subjects. Having done clearing recently, I can see that most of the students, not all of the students by any means, but most of the students come with biology, chemistry, and maths, and biology, chemistry, and psychology. But it's always interesting to see the students who come with biology and chemistry and psychology, and then something really interesting like history or music. It's always nice to have a conversation with them. Obviously, the equivalents are IB 32 to 34 with higher level 6 in 2 relevant subjects. And again, there's equivalencies there. And you also need GCSE maths at grade C or 4 and GCSE English at grade C or 4. But I think one of the things Swansea prides itself on is highlighted by this point down the bottom, in that we are willing to talk to you and discuss your individual circumstances with you, because we appreciate that everybody has different journeys through their lives and different challenges and opportunities. And we're happy to give you have a conversation with you and discuss what your opportunities might be with us. And it's been highlighted in clearing, particularly last year's clearing. This year's clearing was particularly peculiar, but last year's clearing, it was highlighted in the national media that Swansea University was, one of the premier places for a one-on-one engagement with students, with the academics, so that you can get real insight and real bespoke conversation about what opportunity may be best for you. And we will take sort of peculiarities in your circumstances into account as well. So there is that question, of course, of what if you don't get the grades you wanted at A levels to make it onto those pathways program. And I've already alluded to the fact we have a foundation year, which is that 1 year before you progress onto the full 3-year BSc program. And so we find that we have people joining this because they didn't do chemistry, or they didn't do well enough at chemistry. They have just not done very well at their A levels overall. So this is just an additional year at the beginning, and it just embeds those foundations before you progress onto the more challenging 3-year program. Sometimes it's a mature student returning to education and just want that year of settling themselves in and getting back into the swing of things. Or, it's been so long since they did their A levels that they just want a refresher for those underpinning sciences. Well, these are a little bit out of order, I remember from the other day. So, and the foundation year is going to introduce you to the key concepts and knowledge needed for that BSc program. There's going to be introductory chemistry, introductory maths, introductory cellular biology, and all those kinds of things, which are going to give you really good foundations before you progress into the full 3-year program. And you need 60% overall average in that foundation year to be able to progress to year 1 of the BSc program. And as I've already said, you can still benefit from the pathway to medicine. There's no stigma to having done the foundation year. You do well in the foundation year, you progress onto our BSc programs, you do well against those criteria I've described to you for our pathways to medicine, and you will get that guaranteed interview spot for our graduate entry medicine program. And one of the really important things that we've touched on is that building of community, that building of sense of place, that building of understanding of your own strengths and limitations in your approach to study. And you will benefit from that right through your foundation year, all the way through the BSc program and into the graduate entry medicine program. You will benefit from the same support from academics and the same support from all of the services across the university, be they disability services, all the way through to the volunteering examples and society opportunities that Katie's already mentioned. And the typical offer for our foundation year students is a BBC to a CCD at A level. And the most relevant subjects, again, unsurprisingly, are biology and chemistry. But as I said with the previous slide, do just call people and ask them and describe your circumstances and discuss with them where the opportunities may relate to you. And obviously thinking about these things when it comes to writing your personal statement and the people who are doing your references, because we will be reading those as well. So thinking about what to do next, so we're highlighting the opportunity for you on your UCAS form. If you're thinking about, if you're an A-level student thinking about wanting to study undergraduate medicine, putting your first 4 choices for undergraduate medicine in 4 places and keeping that 5th place as one of our Pathways to Medicine programs, giving you that safety net should you not get into a undergraduate medical program of your choice. We've got lots more details about all of our courses on the course pages, which are on the web addresses on there. And we have some virtual open days coming up, and we've got one next week. And I think later in the year, we'll be having some, what my 12-year-old would call IRL open days, so in real life open days as well. So I'm going to hand you over now to Katie, who is going to, I think perhaps we just want to go straight into questions there, Katie, but I'll be guided by you.